You just changed your oil, but your engine still failed. Fuel economy dropped. The engine got louder, and you had absolutely no idea why. Most people think an oil change is too simple to mess up. But the truth is different. There are 20 mistakes that mechanics see every single week. Mistakes that cost way more than people realize because nobody told them they were making them. In this video, you're going to learn every single one. And stay until the end, because mistake number 16 is the one that destroys the most engines in America, and almost nobody talks about it. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1. Using the wrong oil for your engine. This is the most basic mistake, and it's still incredibly common. Every engine is engineered for a specific type of oil, the right viscosity, the right performance standard. At a lot of quick lube shops, technicians will just reach for whatever is on hand, or customers will buy whatever is cheapest on the shelf. The problem is that if your car calls for 5W30 or 0W20 and you put in something heavier, your engine is going to work a lot harder than it should, especially in those first few minutes after startup, when the oil is still cold. In the first few seconds of operation, oil needs to reach every part of the engine quickly. An oil that's too thick during that cold start phase leaves components running without adequate lubrication long enough to cause real wear. The fix is simple. Open your owner's manual. The manufacturer specifies exactly which oil to use. If you don't have the manual, there's usually a sticker under the hood near the oil cap or on the engine cover. But knowing the right oil doesn't matter at all if you make mistake number 2, coming up next. Mistake number 2. Mixing oils from different brands or types. You changed your oil, but you had some left over from the last bottle. Next time you top it off, you grab a different brand, or worse, you mix conventional oil with synthetic without realizing it. Seems harmless. It's not. Oils from different brands and formulations have their own additive packages. When you mix them, those additives can interact, reduce each other's effectiveness, or in more extreme cases, create deposits inside the engine. The bigger problem happens when you mix conventional with synthetic without knowing the difference. A lot of drivers still think they're basically the same thing. They're not. The chemical composition is fundamentally different, and compatibility isn't always guaranteed. The rule is simple. Always top off with the same oil that's already in the engine, same viscosity, same type, same brand if possible. If you can't find a match, add just enough to get by and do a full change as soon as you can. Now, mistake number 3 is going to catch a lot of people off guard, because it seems like the right thing to do, but it's completely wrong. Mistake number 3. Not checking for leaks after the oil change. The change is done. The engine started. Everything seems fine. You drive off without looking under the car even once. This is a mistake that can get expensive fast. The drain plug may have been left slightly loose. The oil filter may not have been tightened correctly. In some cases, a crush washer was reused when it should have been replaced. The result? A slow oil leak while you're driving down the road. Pressure drops, the engine starts running without adequate lubrication, and you won't notice until the oil pressure warning light comes on. And by the time that light comes on, the damage may already be done. After any oil change, start the engine, let it run for about 2 minutes, shut it off, and look under the car. If there's any fresh oil dripping or pooling on the ground, go back to the shop immediately. Mistake number 4. Over-tightening the oil filter. There's an old myth in DIY car care that says the tighter something is, the better it seals. That's false, and with oil filters, it's especially damaging. The oil filter has a rubber gasket that creates the seal against the engine block. When you over-tighten, that gasket gets crushed past its limit. Instead of sealing better, it starts to leak, or it can crack over time. Beyond the sealing issue, an over-tightened filter is a nightmare to remove at the next oil change. Mechanics regularly destroy filters trying to get them off because the previous person cranked it down with a wrench. The correct method for most spin-on filters is, tighten by hand until you feel the gasket make contact, then give it another 3/4 turn. That's it. Simple, but almost nobody does it right. The next mistake is about something that happens before you even get to the shop, and it can mess up the entire process. Mistake number 5. Not warming up the engine, or overheating it, before the oil change. Most people don't think about engine temperature when it comes to oil changes. But it actually matters. The ideal is a warm engine, not cold, not overheated. A cold engine has thicker, denser oil. A lot of that oil clings to internal surfaces, the cylinder walls, the head, the valve train. When you drain with a cold engine, you're not getting all of the old oil out. Residue stays behind. On the other hand, if you pull into a shop after pushing the engine hard in heavy traffic, engine temperature maxed out, the oil coming out is dangerously hot. Serious burn risk for anyone doing the work. The ideal is to run the engine for 5 to 10 minutes before the change. Long enough for the oil to warm up and flow freely, but not long enough to reach full operating temperature. That gives you the most complete drain with the least risk. Mistake number 6. Skipping the oil filter and not replacing it. This mistake seems like it shouldn't happen, but it does, more often than you'd think. Whether it's to save a few bucks, because the tech said it still looked okay, or just out of laziness, the oil filter didn't get swapped out with the oil. The oil filter's job is to catch metallic particles, soot, and other contaminants that circulate through the oil. After a few thousand miles, it's saturated with that material. When you put in fresh oil but leave the old filter, the clean oil passes through and picks up some of that accumulated contamination. You've essentially fouled your new oil within minutes. The rule is absolute. Replace the filter every single time you change the oil. No exceptions. The cost of a filter is nothing compared to the cost of engine damage. Speaking of cost, mistake number 7 might be the most expensive one on this list. And it's something most people do specifically to try to save money. Mistake number 7. Stretching the oil change interval way too far. The old every 3,000 miles rule is still floating around out there, and plenty of people follow it religiously. But there are also people going 10, 12, even 15,000 miles on conventional oil because it still looks fine. Neither extreme is right. Every vehicle has a specific interval. Older engines or vehicles under severe driving conditions may need changes every 5,000 miles. Modern engines running full synthetic can legitimately go 7,500 to 15,000 miles depending on the manufacturer. The point is, your vehicle has a spec, and that spec exists for a reason. Here's the factor most people miss: driving conditions. If you drive mostly short trips, school drop-offs, quick errands, city stop-and-go, your oil degrades faster than highway driving. On short trips, the engine never fully warms up, so moisture that accumulates in the oil never burns off. That accelerates breakdown. The only reliable source for your correct interval is your owner's manual, combined with an honest look at how you actually use the vehicle. Mistake number 8. Not checking the oil level between changes. Oil change done. Next appointment scheduled. Car runs fine. Nobody checks anything in between. That's a risky habit. All engines consume some amount of oil during normal operation. Some burns off in the combustion chamber, some evaporates, some seeps past worn seals. In small amounts, that's normal. But if the level drops too low before your next change, the engine starts running on insufficient lubrication. Checking your oil level is one of the simplest things you can do in car ownership. It takes under 2 minutes. Pull the dipstick, wipe it clean, reinsert it, pull it out again, and see where the oil sits. Do it at least once a month, or every 1,000 to 1,500 miles. If the level is dropping more than half a quart between checks, that could mean a leak or excessive consumption, and both of those warrant a closer look from a mechanic. We're now at mistake number 9, and it's one of the most dangerous because it happens during the change itself, and you won't notice until it's too late. Mistake number 9. Reusing the drain plug crush washer. The drain plug is the bolt at the bottom of the oil pan, the one that gets removed so the old oil can drain out. It seats against a small sealing washer, usually made of copper or aluminum, that prevents leaks after the plug is reinstalled. That washer is a one-time use item on most applications. Once it's been torqued down, it's deformed and can no longer seal with the same reliability. A lot of shops reuse that washer to save pennies. The result can be a slow, steady oil drip that goes unnoticed for weeks, until the level drops enough to cause real damage. A new crush washer costs almost nothing, usually under $1. Always ask your mechanic if they're replacing it. If they say it doesn't need it, that's worth a second opinion. Mistake number 10. Not disposing of used motor oil properly. This mistake has two sides, environmental and legal. In the United States, dumping used motor oil down the drain, into the ground, or in the trash is illegal under the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, and it's considered hazardous waste disposal. 1 quart of used oil can contaminate up to 250,000 gallons of drinking water. It's one of the most persistent environmental contaminants there is. If you do your own oil changes at home, here's what to do with the old oil. Pour it into a sealed container. Your old oil jug works great, and take it to a drop-off location. Most auto parts stores like AutoZone, O'Reilly, and Advance Auto Parts accept used oil for free. Many quick lube shops do too. Now we're getting into a mistake that splits opinion even among professional mechanics. You're going to want to hear this one. Mistake number 11. Pouring unnecessary additives into fresh oil. The market is packed with products promising to boost oil protection, reduce friction, clean the engine from the inside, and extend oil life. Some even claim to add horsepower. Here's the problem. A high-quality oil at the correct viscosity already contains everything your engine needs. The additive package is built in. Adding more on top can throw off the chemical balance, reduce the oil's effectiveness, and in some cases, degrade seals and gaskets. Oil manufacturers spend years and massive R&D budgets developing balanced formulations that meet specific industry standards, API, ILSAC, OEM specs. When you pour an off-the-shelf additive into that, you're interfering with engineering that cost millions to develop. If your engine seems to need additives to run well, it needs maintenance, not a product that masks the problem temporarily. Mistake number 12. Starting the engine immediately after adding new oil, without waiting. This one is quick, but the consequence is real. After you add fresh oil, there's a short window where the oil needs to drain down through the internal passages and fill the empty oil filter before full pressure builds up. If you fire the engine immediately, especially if you rev it, the oil pressure sensor may trigger a warning light because pressure hasn't stabilized yet. In more sensitive engines, you can have a brief window of operation without adequate pressure before oil reaches all the lubrication points. The right procedure is simple. Add the oil, close the cap, wait 30 seconds to a minute for the oil to settle, then start the engine. Let it idle for another minute before you drive off. Mistake 13 is what happens when someone is in too much of a hurry. And in this case, that hurry can literally destroy the engine. Mistake number 13. Attempting part of the oil change with the engine still running or immediately after shutdown. This is most common when someone's trying to save time. The engine just shut off, oil is still circulating internally, and they're already reaching for the drain plug. The result can be genuinely dangerous. Oil exits under pressure and temperature, serious burn risk. Beyond the physical danger, cracking open the drain plug while the system is still pressurized sends oil spraying rather than draining in a controlled flow. The correct approach: shut the engine off, then wait 10 to 15 minutes. That's enough time for the oil to drain back into the pan and shed enough heat to be safe, without getting so cold that drainage slows down. If you're in a hurry, schedule your oil change for a time when you're not. Rushing and automotive maintenance is a bad combination. Mistake number 14. Ignoring the color and texture of the oil that came out. The oil that drains out of your engine is a diagnostic report. Most people never look at it. Experienced mechanics read the condition of the engine in that fluid. Dark, thick black oil is completely normal. It means the oil did its job absorbing combustion byproducts. But there are warning signs. Milky or grayish oil means water or coolant has gotten into the oil, a potential sign of a blown head gasket. That's a serious problem. Oil with bright metallic particles suspended in it can indicate excessive internal wear. Oil with a strong gasoline smell may mean fuel is making its way into the crankcase, a sign of an injector or ring issue. Next time you change your oil, look at what came out. Or ask your mechanic to show it to you before disposing of it. That 2-second observation could save you from a very expensive surprise down the road. We're past the halfway point, and the next mistake is something almost nobody checks, but it directly affects how long your oil lasts. Mistake number 15. Not checking the crankcase ventilation system during the oil change. The crankcase ventilation system, which on modern vehicles includes the PCV valve, vents blow-by gases that build up inside the engine during combustion. Those gases need somewhere to go. If they can't escape, they build internal pressure that forces oil out through seals and gaskets. When this system gets clogged or fails, the engine starts developing oil leaks in places that shouldn't be leaking. A lot of people replace seals and gaskets, convinced they've failed, when the real culprit was elevated crankcase pressure all along. On top of that, a clogged PCV valve lets oil vapor recirculate through the intake system, leaving oily deposits on the intake manifold and back of the valves, which affects airflow and performance over time. Next time you're at the shop for an oil change, ask them to check the PCV hoses and valve. It's a quick check that can prevent a lot of unnecessary leaks and keep the inside of your engine cleaner. Mistake number 16. Using conventional oil in an engine that specifically requires full synthetic. This is the mistake we teased at the beginning. And it's extremely common in America because full synthetic costs more, often 2 to 3 times more, and a lot of people make the call to save money without understanding what that decision actually costs. Modern engines, especially turbocharged engines, direct injection engines, and vehicles with cylinder deactivation or auto start-stop systems, are built to much tighter tolerances than older motors. They depend on oil that flows fast in cold temperatures, holds up under extreme heat, and maintains its properties for extended intervals. Conventional oil doesn't meet those requirements. In a turbocharged engine, for example, the oil has to lubricate a turbo shaft spinning at up to 150,000 revolutions per minute in temperatures that can exceed 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Conventional oil breaks down rapidly under those conditions and can leave behind carbonized deposits inside the turbo housing, leading to what's called coking. A quality full synthetic costs maybe $30 to $50 more per change. Turbo replacement? That can run anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 depending on the vehicle. The savings disappear fast. Mistake number 17 is about something that happens after the oil change, something most people never do. But they really should. Mistake number 17. Not resetting the oil life monitor after the change. Starting around the mid-2000s, most vehicles began shipping with oil life monitoring systems. These systems calculate when oil needs to be changed based on a combination of engine temperature, RPM data, mileage, and driving conditions. They display that information on the dash, either as a percentage of oil life remaining or as a warning light. If you don't reset the system after the change, it keeps calculating from where it left off, as if the old oil is still in there. The next alert will fire at the wrong time, either prompting you to change it too early or, more dangerously, too late. The reset process varies by make and model. Some vehicles do it through the infotainment menu. Others require a specific key sequence with the ignition. Your owner's manual will have the exact steps for your vehicle. Mistake number 18. Treating the mileage interval as the only factor and ignoring time. Most drivers know they need to change their oil every certain number of miles. What most drivers don't know is that oil also has an expiration based on time, completely independent of how far you've driven. This catches low-mileage drivers off guard. If you only put 2,000 miles per year on your vehicle, a second car, a weekend car, a retiree's car, and your manufacturer recommends an oil change every 7,500 miles, you might logically conclude you could go nearly 4 years between changes. That's wrong. Motor oil degrades even when it's just sitting in the engine. Temperature swings, condensation that builds up internally, and natural oxidation all cause the additive package to break down over time, even if those miles aren't there. Most manufacturers recommend an oil change at least once a year regardless of mileage. Check your manual and apply both criteria. Change it at whichever comes first, miles or time. Mistake number 19 is going to make you look at that cheap oil change deal a little differently. Mistake number 19. Choosing where to get your oil changed based purely on price. A cheap oil change can be a great deal. Or it can be a bad deal dressed up like savings. The difference is what's actually included in that price. There are dishonest practices that happen at shops across the country. Using a lower-grade oil while charging for premium. Skipping the filter replacement. Reusing the drain plug washer. Not filling to the correct oil capacity. Skipping the courtesy inspection of other fluids that's usually included in the service. These shortcuts are hard to catch in the moment, because the car will drive away just fine. The problem shows up weeks or months later, when a mechanic is trying to figure out why the engine is damaged. Stick with shops that have solid, verifiable reviews. Ask to see the oil jug before they start. Ask about the filter. Ask whether the drain plug washer is being replaced. A shop with nothing to hide won't hesitate to answer those questions. Mistake number 20. Not using the oil change as an opportunity for a full vehicle inspection. An oil change puts your car in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing, with the vehicle raised off the ground and accessible from every angle. That's the perfect opportunity to look at a lot more than just the oil. There's a long list of things that can be checked quickly during an oil change: coolant level and condition, brake fluid level, serpentine belt and timing belt condition, tire tread depth and pressure, engine air filter, cabin air filter, radiator hoses, and the overall presence of any new leaks. These checks add maybe 5 minutes to the service, but they can catch problems before they turn into emergencies. If your shop doesn't offer this automatically, ask for it. If the mechanic checks everything and finds nothing, you drive away with peace of mind. If they find something, you found out before it became a breakdown. Let's run through all 20 mistakes you need to avoid at your next oil change. Mistake number 1. Using the wrong oil for your engine. Mistake number 2. Mixing oils from different brands or types. Mistake number 3. Not checking for leaks after the change. Mistake number 4. Over-tightening the oil filter. Mistake number 5. Wrong engine temperature before the change. Mistake number 6. Not replacing the oil filter. Mistake number 7. Stretching the interval too far. Mistake number 8. Not checking the oil level between changes. Mistake number 9. Reusing the drain plug crush washer. Mistake number 10. Improper used oil disposal. Mistake number 11. Adding unnecessary additives. Mistake number 12. Starting the engine too quickly after filling. Mistake number 13. Working on a hot engine or right after shutdown. Mistake number 14. Ignoring the color and texture of drained oil. Mistake number 15. Not checking the PCV system. Mistake number 16. Using conventional oil when synthetic is required. Mistake number 17. Forgetting to reset the oil life monitor. Mistake number 18. Ignoring the time interval. Mistake number 19. Choosing a shop based only on price. Mistake number 20. Not using the service as a full vehicle inspection.